In the deep cold silence of space, a silver patrol ship drifted through the darkness. Its name was Zereth 1, and it belonged to the Galactic Council. Inside, a small team of aliens sat around glowing blue screens, watching the endless black outside. The stars looked calm, but everyone on the ship knew this part of the galaxy was cursed. There was a planet nearby, old and forgotten, known by one name across the stars, Earth, the Deathworld. No one went near it. No one even spoke its name loudly. Legend said those who entered its orbit never returned. Yet tonight, a strange signal had come from that very place. It was weak but clear, a human voice, saying words no one had heard in centuries. "We're still here." The crew stared at the recording in disbelief. Captain Threx, a tall insectoid alien with bright orange eyes, leaned closer. "Run it again," he ordered. The voice repeated, cold and calm, echoing through the ship. "We're still here." The crew exchanged nervous looks. No living human had been seen for more than 500 years. Humanity was supposed to be extinct, wiped out in the Great Collapse when Earth became uninhabitable. The planet's gravity was too strong, its ecosystem too violent, its animals too dangerous. Even their machines turned against them, according to old stories. The galaxy had called it a death world because life there was not gentle, it was survival against the impossible. And now that same world was calling again. The ship drifted closer to Earth's orbit. Its scanners came alive, reading impossible data. The atmosphere looked healed. The oceans were full again. Radiation levels were dropping. Somehow, the planet had come back to life. Threx frowned. "That's impossible," he muttered. His science officer, a soft-voiced creature with transparent skin, shook his head. "Captain, life signatures detected. Not 1 or 2, millions." The room went silent. Every alien felt the same chill crawl up their spine. Millions of life signs, on a world everyone believed dead. The pilot whispered, "Could it be a glitch?" But the screen didn't lie. The readings were real. There was life on Earth again. Suddenly, the lights flickered. The ship trembled slightly, as if something unseen had brushed past it. The communications officer looked up. "Captain, we're receiving another signal." The voice was different now, distorted, mechanical, almost like it was alive. "Leave," it said. "Leave the orbit." Threx's heart pounded. "Identify source," he shouted. "Unknown," came the reply. Then the radar flashed red. One of their scout drones, floating near the atmosphere, vanished without a trace. No explosion, no signal, just gone. "Retrieve visual feed," Threx ordered. The screen showed static for a few seconds. Then something appeared, a shape, massive and metallic, moving under the clouds. It looked like a city, but it was flying. It wasn't alien technology. It was human. The crew couldn't believe their eyes. The ancient legends spoke of humanity's brilliance, their unstoppable will to adapt and survive. But no one imagined they could return. "Captain," said the navigator in a shaking voice, "what if they never died?" The captain turned slowly. "Then the galaxy has a problem," he said quietly. They decided to send a small drone closer, equipped with deep scan sensors. As it entered the upper atmosphere, the cameras revealed forests covering the continents again. Towering trees, glowing rivers, strange metallic vines wrapping around old buildings. The cities of humans were no longer ruins. They were part of the planet itself. The drone went deeper, passing through thick clouds. Lightning flashed, and for a moment, something human-shaped appeared on the screen. A figure, standing on top of a tower, looking straight into the drone's camera. It was impossible at that distance, but the figure seemed to smile. The feed cut instantly. Static filled the control room. The crew was frozen. "Captain," the science officer whispered. "Someone down there just saw us." The captain didn't answer. His eyes stayed fixed on the dead screen. After a moment, he said, "Set a course back to command. They need to know." The engines roared softly, but before they could leave orbit, all systems went offline. Total silence filled the ship. No power, no lights, nothing but darkness. Then a sound came through the intercom, a heartbeat. Slow and steady. Human. It echoed through every corridor, as if the ship itself had a pulse. The captain stood up, his voice shaking for the first time. "Who's there?" he asked. The sound stopped. Then, a whisper. "Welcome home." The lights came back on for just 1 second, and every monitor showed a single line of text in ancient Terran English: "The Deathworld awakes." The ship's engines refused to respond. The planet's gravity pulled them closer, like an invisible hand dragging them down. The crew panicked, trying to reboot systems, but nothing worked. Threx grabbed the manual controls and shouted, "Emergency thrust, now!" Flames burst from the engines, but it was too late. The Deathworld had caught them. The view outside turned bright as the blue curve of Earth filled the window. For a brief second, they saw continents glowing like veins of light. Then everything went white. Hours later, the Galactic Council received one final transmission from Zereth 1. It was short and broken. The voice of Captain Threx whispered through the static, "They're alive. They never left. The Deathworld lives." Then silence. The signal vanished forever. Across the galaxy, news spread like wildfire. The Council declared Earth forbidden once again. But deep in the void, far from anyone's eyes, a new signal began to pulse from the blue planet. It was the same human voice as before, calm, confident, unbroken. "We're still here," it said again. But this time, there was something new at the end of the message. A single word that made the entire galaxy tremble. Home. The Galactic Council chamber floated above the golden clouds of the capital world, shining like a beacon in the endless dark. Inside, hundreds of alien leaders gathered, their voices echoing through the crystal dome. The air was thick with fear. On the main screen, the last message from the Zereth 1 played again and again, Captain Threx's trembling voice whispering, "They're alive. They never left. The Deathworld lives." Then the static that followed seemed louder than any explosion. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was afraid of a ghost. Humanity. The council speaker, a massive creature made of translucent blue energy, raised its hand for silence. "The Deathworld is off limits," it declared. "No further missions will approach it. We cannot risk awakening what sleeps there." But whispers spread through the crowd. Not everyone agreed. Some believed it was only a trick, maybe rogue AIs imitating humans. Others feared something worse, something even the legends never spoke of. At the edge of the chamber, a small group of scouts from the Delta Quadrant whispered quietly among themselves. One of them, a young alien named Lyra, spoke first. "If there's a signal, someone has to check. What if it's a warning?" Her superior shook his head. "Or a trap. Earth doesn't give warnings." But that night, when the chamber emptied and the stars dimmed outside, Lyra made a decision. She would find out the truth herself. Her ship, the Mirage, was small and fast, built for stealth and speed. As she left the capital world behind, she played the human transmission once more. "We're still here." The voice was calm, almost gentle, but something about it felt wrong. The tone wasn't desperate or angry. It was confident. It sounded like someone who already knew she was listening. As the Mirage slipped into hyperspace, her AI companion, Vex, spoke softly. "Captain, you know this is forbidden." Lyra smiled slightly. "So was exploring the stars once." Hours later, the dark blue sphere of Earth appeared ahead of her, glowing faintly against the stars. It was beautiful, alive again. The forests, oceans, and storms shimmered with strange energy. "Scan for life signs," she ordered. The results appeared instantly, human signatures, confirmed. Millions of them, spread across continents. Some in cities, some underground, and others, floating in orbit. That last reading made her heart stop. "Floating," she repeated. The AI hesitated. "Yes. Multiple large structures around the planet. Unknown design. Metallic, but organic." Before she could respond, A new signal cut through her systems. It was human again, but different from before. "You shouldn't have come." The voice echoed in the cockpit, calm but cold. Then every light on her ship flickered out. The Mirage dropped from orbit like a falling star. Lyra fought the manual controls, gritting her teeth. Come on, she shouted. The engines roared to life just in time to slow her descent. The ship crashed through heavy clouds and landed roughly on a grassy plain. Steam hissed from the hull as the systems slowly rebooted. She looked out the viewport and froze. The landscape was unreal. Trees taller than buildings, glowing rivers that hummed softly, metallic flowers that pulsed like hearts. Nature and machine were one. It was beautiful and terrifying. "Vex," she whispered. "Where are we?" The AI hesitated. Based on old maps, this was once called Africa. Lyra stepped outside. The air was warm and filled with strange, sweet scents. The ground vibrated slightly under her boots, as if the planet itself was breathing. Suddenly, her scanner beeped. Life form approaching. She turned quickly, raising her weapon. A shadow moved between the trees. Then a figure stepped out. It was human. A man, tall, wearing armor made of both metal and living vines. His eyes glowed faintly blue. He spoke slowly, in a language that her translator struggled to decode. "You are not one of us." Lyra's heart raced. "I'm from the Galactic Council," she said carefully. "We received your signal." The man tilted his head slightly, as if studying her. "The Council," he repeated. "They left us to die." His voice carried no anger, only a deep sadness. "Why return now?" Lyra hesitated. "We thought humanity was gone." The man smiled faintly. "Gone? No. We changed. The Deathworld taught us to survive. The weak vanished, the strong adapted." He looked up at the sky where her ship still smoked. "You shouldn't have come alone." Before she could reply, a low hum filled the air. Metallic shapes rose from the ground, machines with wings of bone and steel, circling like birds. The man turned to her. "They are watching." Then he disappeared into the forest. Lyra backed toward her ship, but the machines didn't attack. They just hovered, scanning her silently. Suddenly, one of them projected a hologram. It was the same face she had seen in the transmission, a human with pale eyes and a calm voice. "You shouldn't have returned," he said. "The galaxy isn't ready for what we've become." The hologram flickered and vanished. The machines scattered into the clouds, leaving her standing alone in silence. Lyra climbed back into her ship, shaking. "Vex, send a message to the Council," she ordered. "Tell them Earth is alive, and they're watching us." The AI processed for a moment, then said quietly, "Message sent." "But Captain, something's wrong." Lyra frowned. "What is it?" Vex replied, "The transmission didn't go through normal space. It was rerouted, through Earth." Lyra froze. "You mean they intercepted it?" The AI's voice turned glitchy. "No. They guided it." The screens flickered. The human voice returned, whispering softly, almost kindly. "We remember you." Lyra stared at the console, her heart pounding. "Who are you?" she whispered. The voice replied, "We are the children of the Deathworld." Then the ship systems went dark again. Outside, the sky shimmered with light. Enormous shadows moved high above the clouds, ships made of living metal. Lyra realized what she was seeing. Human ships. Hundreds of them, rising from the planet like a storm. They were sleek, powerful, silent. And they weren't launching into space, they were preparing. The human voice spoke one last time, calm and cold. "Tell your council," it said. "We're coming home." Then everything went black. Hours later, the Galactic Council received her final log, fragmented, full of static, but one sentence stood clear: humanity has returned. The counselors stared at each other in silence. In that moment, across countless worlds, the same fear spread like fire. The Deathworld had awakened. And this time, it was not reaching for help. It was reaching for the stars. The night sky above Earth glowed faintly with silver clouds as if the stars themselves were watching. In orbit, the wreckage of Lyra's ship drifted silently, half melted and lifeless. The Galactic Council sent no rescue this time. No one dared to approach the Deathworld again. Yet, far below, among the green ruins of what was once called Europe, a soft light flickered in the mist. A drone camera, launched secretly by a smuggler ship passing nearby, captured it by accident. The image showed something impossible, a human city, alive and breathing. The buildings were half metal, half stone, covered in green vines that shimmered like circuits. Roads pulsed faintly as if blood flowed beneath them. Machines walked alongside people. The Deathworld was not dead, it was evolving. The footage reached the Council within hours, and panic followed. The leaders argued endlessly, their voices shaking the Great Hall. Some believed it was humanity's return. Others said it was an illusion, a trick played by an AI that had gone mad. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. The humans had survived. And they had changed in ways no one could imagine. Far from the capital worlds, on a dusty moon colony, a small team of independent explorers decided to find out the truth for themselves. They were not part of the Council. They were smugglers, scientists, and ex-soldiers, tired of living under the shadow of fear. Their leader, a calm but reckless man named Kale, had once fought in the border wars against human machines long ago. He still carried a scar across his chest from a plasma burn, a reminder of humanity's old power. "We go in, we look, and we get out," Kale told his team. No heroics, no contact. Just proof. But deep inside, he wanted more than proof. He wanted to see if the old stories about humans, the monsters, the survivors, the dreamers, were real. Their ship, the Ghostlight, entered Earth's orbit quietly. The planet looked peaceful, but Kale felt the same chill Lyra must have felt before she vanished. "Begin descent," he said. The ship passed through heavy clouds and landed near what was once known as London. There was no smoke, no pollution, no sound of engines. Only silence, thick and heavy. The crew stepped out cautiously. The city was overgrown with tall metallic trees whose leaves reflected the moonlight like mirrors. Broken skyscrapers leaned together, their glass fused into crystal. The air smelled fresh and alive. "This doesn't look like a death world," one of the crew whispered. Kale didn't answer. His scanner beeped softly. Human life detected. Not far, just beyond the old river. They followed the trail quietly until they reached a massive structure shaped like a dome. The surface shimmered like water, though it was solid metal. Kale placed his hand on it, and instantly, the wall rippled under his touch. "It's breathing," he muttered. Suddenly, the scanner in his other hand blinked red. Movement. Fast. Multiple targets. Before he could react, shadows appeared between the metallic trees, human shapes, glowing eyes, silent steps. The figures surrounded the team in seconds. They looked human, but something was different. Their skin had patterns like faint circuits, and their eyes shone with light. None of them spoke. One stepped forward, a woman with silver hair and pale blue veins glowing under her skin. Kale lowered his weapon slowly. "We're not enemies," he said. The woman tilted her head slightly, studying him. Then she spoke in perfect galactic common. "You shouldn't have come." Her voice was calm but carried something ancient, something powerful. "We came in peace," Kale replied. "We only wanted to see." The woman's gaze hardened. "The last time the galaxy came to see us, they left us to die." Her words hit like a blade. "We are not your myths anymore. We are something else." The ground beneath them pulsed with light. The dome opened silently, revealing a vast chamber below filled with blue mist. The humans motioned for them to follow. Against his better judgment, Kale did. Inside, the walls were alive, pulsing softly, showing images of old Earth. He saw memories, wars, destruction, and then rebirth. trees spreading through ruins, machines rebuilding cities, oceans healing, and humans blending with everything around them. They didn't just survive the Deathworld, they became part of it. The woman spoke again. Earth taught us balance. We don't use machines anymore. We grow them. She pointed to a floating sphere of light. That is the heart of the city. It listens, learns, remembers. Kale's mind spun. You've merged technology and nature, he said. You've turned your planet into one living system. She nodded. The galaxy called us dangerous because we refused to die. Now they will call us gods. Before Kale could respond, an alarm echoed through the chamber. The walls flashed red. The woman's expression changed. You've been followed. Kale's blood ran cold. Outside, in orbit, a council recon probe had locked onto their position. We have to go, Kale said quickly. But the woman stopped him. No. You will take this message to them. She handed him a small orb, glowing faintly in her palm. Tell your council that humanity remembers everything. Every betrayal, every war, every broken promise. But tell them this too, we are not here for revenge. We are here to take back what was once ours. Kale stared at the orb, feeling its warmth pulse through his fingers. It was alive. And if they refuse? He asked quietly. The woman smiled for the first time. Then the Deathworld will remind them why they feared it. The dome began to close again. The ground shook as the machines outside moved into formation. The human soldiers vanished into the trees, silent as ghosts. Kale and his team ran back to the ghost light, their hearts racing. As they lifted off, the ship's sensors went wild, hundreds of human ships rising from the clouds, dark and sleek, forming patterns in the sky. They're mobilizing, said one of the crew in disbelief. Kale held the glowing orb tightly. No, he whispered. They're waking up. The ship shot upward, breaking through the clouds. The last thing they saw was the Earth itself glowing faintly with blue veins, pulsing like a living heart. When the ghost light reached deep space, Kale activated the orb. A hologram appeared, an image of a human man with cold eyes and a steady voice. To the Galactic Council, it said. You left us behind. You feared us. But the galaxy you built was built on our ashes. Now we rise, not as conquerors, but as survivors. Do not come for us again. The Deathworld has become our home. And soon, it will be yours too. The message ended, and the orb turned dark. Kale sat back in silence, staring at the stars. For the first time in centuries, humanity had spoken to the galaxy. And their voice carried not anger, but power. Somewhere behind them, the Deathworld watched, waiting in the shadows, alive and awake. Night covered the Deathworld in silence, but it was not the silence of peace. It was the quiet of something waiting. Deep in the forests that had swallowed the old human cities, strange blue lights moved like fireflies between the trees. They were not insects, they were machines, alive and aware, floating like guardians of the night. In the distance, Kale's ship the Ghostlight rested hidden in the ruins of an ancient skyscraper. The crew slept uneasily, haunted by the message from the human hybrid woman and the memory of her cold, glowing eyes. Kale sat alone in the cockpit, staring at the dark planet through the cracked window. He held the small orb she had given him. It pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. "What are you?" he whispered. The orb shimmered faintly, and a faint voice echoed through the air, the same voice from before, calm, powerful, human. "We are what you left behind." Kale froze. The orb was speaking to him directly. "Why show me this?" he asked. "Because you still remember," the voice replied. "You remember the wars, the fear, the lies. You remember what the galaxy did to us." Kale felt a chill down his spine. "You want revenge," he said quietly. The voice paused for a moment before answering. "No. We want balance. But if they try to stop us, we will show them what the Deathworld truly means." Outside, the forest moved. The metallic trees bent slightly as if something massive was walking through them. A low rumble vibrated through the ground, shaking dust from the old walls. Cale grabbed his weapon and looked out the window. Shapes emerged from the darkness, tall, humanoid figures made of bone, steel, and living vines. Their eyes burned faintly red. The rest of the crew woke instantly. "What's happening?" one shouted. "We have company," Cale said grimly. The creatures surrounded the ship but didn't attack. Instead, one of them stepped forward. Its body glowed faintly blue, and when it spoke, the voice was neither male nor female. It was deep, echoing, and calm. "You are not safe here," it said. Cale lowered his weapon slightly. "Then help us leave." The creature tilted its head. "Leaving is not an option anymore. You have seen too much." Before Cale could respond, the ground exploded near the ship. The crew stumbled as blinding light filled the sky. From above, a massive shadow descended, an alien dropship marked with the insignia of the Galactic Council. "No," Cale whispered. "They followed us." Beams of energy shot down, tearing through the forest. The hybrid creatures roared and charged, moving faster than lightning. The trees themselves came alive, wrapping around the alien machines like snakes. Cale's ship shook violently. "Engines online," he shouted. The crew scrambled to power up the systems, but the consoles flickered with static. "Something's overriding our controls," yelled the pilot. Then, the voice from the orb echoed again, louder now, everywhere at once. "Do not fear. The Deathworld protects its own." From the forests rose massive biomechanical creatures, towering like mountains. Their eyes blazed white as they unleashed energy bursts that tore the alien dropships apart. Cale watched in shock as the sky burned. "This isn't war," he whispered. "This is judgment." Within minutes, the battle ended. The alien ships were gone, melted into the air as if erased by the planet itself. Silence returned, broken only by the low hum of the living trees. The humanoid creature approached again, its glowing form reflected in the wreckage. "You see now," it said. "This world does not belong to the galaxy anymore. It belongs to us." Cale stared at it. "Who are you?" The creature looked at him for a long moment before answering. "We are humanity's memory. We are the Reclaimers." The Reclaimer led Cale and his crew deeper into the forest. They walked in silence, the ground glowing faintly under their feet. At last, they reached a vast clearing where a gigantic structure stood, a tower of glass and living metal that seemed to touch the sky. It pulsed with light from within. "This is the core," the Reclaimer said. "The heart of Earth. It is alive." Cale felt his chest tighten. "Alive." The Reclaimer nodded. "When humanity fell, the planet itself woke up. The world learned. It evolved with us. Together, we became something new." Inside the tower, walls shifted like waves of light, showing glimpses of Earth's history, the wars, the destruction, and then the rebirth. The oceans cleaning themselves, the air healing, the machines merging with life. Cale whispered, "You merged with your world." The Reclaimer smiled faintly. "We didn't have a choice. To survive the Deathworld, we had to become it." The air around them vibrated suddenly. The Reclaimer touched the side of the tower, and a hologram appeared in the air, a map of the galaxy. Dozens of red dots blinked across it. "The Council watches us," it said. "They fear us again. But we are not the same humans they once knew. We will not beg for mercy or forgiveness. We will reclaim our place among the stars." Cale looked at the glowing red marks. "You're preparing for war." The Reclaimer's blue eyes flashed. "War is already coming. But not from us. The galaxy will strike first." Cale clenched his fists. "And what happens when they do?" The Reclaimer turned toward the glowing heart of the core. "Then the Deathworld will awaken completely." That night, as Cale and his crew rested inside the core, the sky above Earth burned with streaks of light, hundreds of human ships rising from hidden bunkers across the planet. They were silent, graceful, alive. The reclaimer watched them from the tower's peak. For centuries, they called us monsters, he said quietly. But the truth is, we are what they made us. He turned to Kale, who stood beside him. You will return to the council. You will tell them what you saw. And you will deliver this. He handed Kale another orb, smaller but brighter than before. What's inside? Kale asked. A memory, the reclaimer said. Of our beginning, and their end. When dawn came, the ghost light lifted off from the surface, carrying Kale and his crew back toward the stars. As the ship broke through the clouds, Kale looked down one last time. The earth was no longer blue. It was glowing gold, pulsing like a living sun. He felt the planet's energy even from space, a silent hum that filled his chest with awe and fear. Captain, the pilot said softly, what should I tell the council when they ask what we found? Kale stared at the planet's light fading below and whispered, tell them the Deathworld is awake. And it remembers. Far behind them, in the heart of the glowing core, the reclaimer stood with his eyes closed. Around him, thousands of human minds linked as one. Their voices rose in unison, echoing across the galaxy like a storm. We are humanity, they said. We are the Deathworld reborn. And at that moment, every listening outpost in the galaxy picked up the same faint signal. It was a heartbeat, the sound of Earth itself, alive and awake. The message from Earth struck the galaxy like lightning. Across thousands of worlds, alien leaders froze as the broadcast played on every channel, in every language. The image was simple, a human figure standing in the light of a golden sky, eyes glowing faintly blue. His voice was calm, steady, and terrifyingly confident. We are humanity, he said. We are alive. And we are coming home. The message lasted less than a minute, but when it ended, silence swept across the stars. No one spoke. No one moved. Even the most powerful empires felt the same creeping fear that had haunted them for centuries. The Deathworld had awakened, and the monsters of legend were real again. On the capital world of the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. Military fleets were placed on high alert. Commanders demanded answers. How can they still exist? Shouted one. They were wiped out, cried another. But the council speaker said nothing. His glowing form flickered with unease. Perhaps, he said slowly, we never understood what Earth truly was. Meanwhile, in deep space, Kale and his crew sped toward the council aboard the Ghostlight. The small ship shook as it emerged from hyperspace. Inside, the crew was silent. No one could forget what they had seen on Earth, the living machines, the forests of steel, the reclaimer's piercing eyes. Kale held the small orb the reclaimer had given him. It pulsed softly in his hand, like a heartbeat. Captain, said the pilot nervously, should we even show this to the council? What if it's a trap? Kale didn't answer. He stared out at the stars, remembering the reclaimer's words. You will deliver our memory. You will tell them what they made us become. Finally, he said, it's not a trap. It's a warning. When the Ghostlight landed in the council hangar, hundreds of guards surrounded it. Kale was escorted to the grand chamber where the council's 12 leaders waited. The hall was vast, glowing with cold blue light. You have been to the Forbidden World, the speaker said. What did you find? Kale placed the orb on the table. You should see for yourself. The orb activated on its own, projecting a holographic image of Earth. The planet glowed like a sun, covered in golden veins of energy. Then came the reclaimer's voice. For centuries, you called us the children of chaos. You feared our strength, our will to survive. But it was not we who destroyed the galaxy's peace, it was your fear of us. You left us to die. But we adapted. We evolved. Now we return, not as conquerors, but as the proof of what life can become. The hologram changed, showing human cities made of living metal, forests breathing with energy, and massive fleets rising from Earth's surface. The reclaimer's final words echoed through the hall. You feared the Deathworld. But you forgot one truth. Death is where life learns to fight. The image vanished, leaving only silence. The council chamber erupted into shouts. They're threatening us. This is an act of war. They'll destroy everything. But the speaker raised his hand. Enough. His voice trembled slightly. We cannot assume hostility. We must understand them first. Kale stepped forward. They don't want war, he said. They want recognition. They want to return to the stars on their own terms. A reptilian counselor hissed, "You sound like their messenger." Kale looked him in the eye. "Maybe that's exactly what I am." The chamber went silent again. The speaker leaned closer. "Do they have the power to fight the council?" Kale hesitated. "They have more than power," he said quietly. "They have control. Over their world. Over their machines. Over themselves. You can't imagine what they've become." Before the council could respond, an alarm echoed through the chamber. The screens on every wall flickered, showing a massive fleet appearing on the edge of the solar system. Thousands of ships. The same signature appeared on all of them, human origin. Gasps filled the room. "They're here," someone whispered. In orbit around the old Terran system, the human fleet assembled in perfect silence. The ships were unlike anything the galaxy had seen, sleek, fluid, almost alive. Each one glowed faintly with golden energy that seemed to flow through its hull like veins of light. The lead vessel, larger than any council dreadnought, sent a message across the stars. The signal carried no words, only one sound, the heartbeat of Earth. Back in the chamber, the speaker stood slowly. "Send an envoy," he said. "We must know their intentions." Kale stepped forward. "Send me." The speaker stared at him for a long moment, then nodded. "Very well. But understand this, if they threaten the peace of the galaxy, we will not hesitate to strike." Kale gave a grim smile. "If you strike first," he said, "you won't get a second chance." Hours later, Kale's shuttle approached the human flagship. The closer he came, the more unreal it seemed. The ship wasn't made, it was grown, a fusion of metal and energy, as if the stars themselves had built it. When he landed, the walls of the docking bay shifted softly, glowing like living skin. He was greeted by the reclaimer himself, standing tall and calm. "Welcome home," the reclaimer said. Kale hesitated. "Home." The reclaimer smiled faintly. "This galaxy was ours once too. We built, we explored, we dreamed. And when it cast us out, we learned to dream again. We don't seek war, Kale. We seek our place among the stars." Kale looked around the vast corridor filled with human hybrids, their glowing eyes reflecting light like fire. "The council is afraid," he said. "They think you'll destroy them." The reclaimer turned toward a massive viewport showing Earth glowing below. "Afraid," he said softly. "They always were. That fear is what created the Deathworld. But we do not need to destroy them. We will show them what humanity truly means." Kale frowned. "And if they attack?" The reclaimer's expression darkened slightly. "Then they will learn that Earth no longer fights alone." Suddenly, the ship trembled. The lights dimmed for a second. The reclaimer turned sharply toward the ceiling. "They've fired," he said. Kale's blood ran cold. On the holographic display, a red beam of energy shot from a distant council warship toward Earth. But before it could reach the planet, it vanished, absorbed into empty space as if swallowed by the void. "What happened?" Kale asked in shock. The reclaimer's eyes glowed brighter. "We've learned to command space itself," he said. "No weapon forged in fear can touch our world now." He turned to Kale. "Go back to them. Tell them humanity does not seek revenge. But if they wish to fight, the Deathworld will answer." Kale stared at him in awe. "You're serious," he whispered. "You can stop their weapons?" The reclaimer nodded slowly. "We can stop anything that threatens life." He stepped closer, his voice calm and cold. "The galaxy has lived in fear for too long. It is time they learn that fear can also protect. As Kale's shuttle left the human flagship, he looked back at the massive fleet hovering in silence above Earth. The stars seemed smaller beside them. He knew that everything was about to change. Humanity had not just returned, they had evolved beyond understanding. And somewhere in the endless dark, every world, every empire, every species whispered the same words in fear and wonder. The Deathworld has come home. The news of humanity's return spread faster than light itself. Across the galaxy, panic took hold. On distant worlds, civilians watched the images of Earth's glowing fleets in disbelief. Merchants halted their trade routes, soldiers whispered about the golden ghosts, and empires began to rearm in secret. Every species that had once feared the Deathworld now wondered if the old legends were coming true. The Council of Worlds called an emergency summit, demanding unity in the face of what they called the human threat. Yet even among the counselors, fear turned into division. Some believed peace was possible. Others whispered that the only safety lay in striking first. On the council's homeworld, Kale sat alone in his quarters, staring at the small orb the Reclaimer had given him. It still pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. He couldn't sleep. He kept seeing Earth's surface glowing in the light of its living cities and hearing the Reclaimer's calm, powerful voice. "We do not seek war, but we will not kneel." Those words echoed in his mind like a warning and a promise. The door slid open, and Council Speaker Varen entered. His translucent form flickered faintly under the dim lights. "You look troubled, Captain," he said. Kale turned. "You should be too," he replied. "They don't want war. They just want to be recognized." Varen sighed. "You believe them because you want to believe them. But their very existence threatens the balance of the galaxy. If they truly control the kind of power you've described, then no one is safe." Kale shook his head. "They control it because they understand it. Because they suffered to earn it. We feared them before we even knew them. And look where that fear has led us." Varen's voice hardened. "If fear keeps the galaxy alive, then fear is necessary." He turned to leave but paused. "Tomorrow, the council will vote. You should be there to see what your friends have caused." The next morning, the grand chamber was full. Every seat was taken, every holoscreen alive with delegates from across the galaxy. The atmosphere was tense, almost electric. Speaker Varen rose to address them. "We stand at a crossroads," he began. "A species long thought extinct has re-emerged. Humanity, born of the Deathworld, now claims to have evolved beyond war. But can we trust them? History tells us otherwise." Murmurs filled the hall. Varen continued, "Their fleets grow larger with every day. They control energies beyond comprehension. If we allow them to rise unchecked, they will dominate us all." He raised his hand. "I propose we strike first. A unified force to ensure they can never threaten the galaxy again." The chamber erupted into noise, some voices in agreement, others in outrage. Kale rose to his feet. "You want to destroy them for surviving," he shouted. "You want to start a war based on fear?" Varen glared at him. "I want to prevent one." Kale stepped forward. "You don't understand them. I've seen what they've built. They've turned their world into something living, something beautiful. If you attack, you'll awaken the very monster you fear." But the council's vote was already underway. Holograms flickered red or blue across the chamber. When the count ended, the result was clear. 73 worlds voted for preemptive action, 48 against. The speaker's voice rang out cold and final. "Operation Dawnfire is approved." Outside the chamber, Kale stood in shock as alarms began to sound. The fleet mobilization had already begun. Thousands of warships prepared to launch toward the Terran system. "You're making a mistake," Kale muttered. But no one listened. Moments later, his communicator flashed, a private signal from an unknown source. He hesitated, then answered. The hologram of the Reclaimer appeared before him, faint but steady. So, the Reclaimer said quietly, they have chosen fear again. Kale nodded grimly. They think they can stop you. The Reclaimer's eyes glowed faintly. They will try. But this time, the lesson will be remembered. Kale felt a chill. You're not going to wipe them out, are you? The Reclaimer's expression softened. We will not destroy what they have built. But we will show them what their weapons truly mean. Hours later, fleets from across the galaxy jumped into hyperspace, their engines blazing like a storm of light. The largest armada in history, united by fear of one world. As they neared the Sol system, their sensors began to fail. Signals distorted. Time and distance bent strangely. Pilots shouted over comms as their ship's instruments went dark. We're being jammed. No, it's something else. Space itself is changing. On the command bridge of the lead dreadnought, Admiral Gier watched in horror as a golden haze spread across the stars ahead. From the heart of the haze, something emerged, a wall of energy stretching across the void. And then, from behind it, came the human fleet. There was no sound, no declaration of war. The human ships simply appeared, glowing softly, silent as dawn. The alien fleet fired first. Beams of plasma, missiles, and railgun rounds streaked toward the humans. But before they could hit, the space around the human ships rippled and swallowed the attacks like water absorbing light. The weapons vanished into nothing. Seconds later, the human fleet responded, not with fire, but with light. A wave of golden energy spread outward, harmless yet unstoppable. When it touched the alien ships, their systems froze. Engines powered down. Weapons went cold. The entire fleet hung motionless in space. The Reclaimer's voice echoed through every ship, calm and powerful. You attack what you fear. You destroy what you do not understand. But humanity has learned. We have seen the cycle of fear, and we will not continue it. His tone darkened slightly. You sought to end us again. Yet here we stand, not as conquerors, but as survivors. The Deathworld endures. Admiral Gier shouted into the comms. What are you doing to us? The Reclaimer answered, we are showing you the cost of your choices. Then, as suddenly as it began, the light faded. The alien ships found themselves drifting in silence, their systems restored. But when they looked toward Earth, they saw something that made even the bravest among them shiver. The planet's surface glowed brighter, as if the world itself were alive and watching them. The message was clear. This was not a world to conquer. It was a world that had already conquered death. When Kale returned to the Council world days later, the galaxy was silent again. No one dared speak of Operation Dawnfire. The fleets had returned in shame, their defeat too complete to understand. The Council called an emergency session, but this time, Varen's voice was softer, almost broken. We cannot fight them, he said. We cannot even comprehend them. Kale stepped forward. Then maybe it's time we stop trying to rule the galaxy through fear. He placed the glowing orb on the table once more. It's time we learn. The orb opened, projecting a vision of Earth, vast, living, beautiful. For the first time in centuries, silence fell without fear. Humanity had not just returned, they had changed the galaxy forever. The galaxy trembled under the weight of its own silence. Weeks had passed since Operation Dawnfire, yet no one dared to speak of it openly. Every surviving admiral, every council member, and every soldier who had witnessed the golden light over Earth carried the same haunted look. The stories spread like wildfire, how an entire armada had been stopped without a single shot fired, how the humans had spoken to them through the stars, not with threats but with quiet authority. Across the galaxy, some began to call it, the day the stars stood still. On 1,000 worlds, citizens gathered around holoscreens replaying the mysterious transmission from the human leader, the Reclaimer. His voice was calm, yet every word carried a strange gravity. We are not gods. We are not demons. We are the reflection of what the galaxy tried to destroy. The words echoed across space, challenging everything the galaxy thought it knew about power, survival, and fear. Kale had become a ghost among the council. Some called him a traitor, others a prophet. He no longer cared what they called him. He had seen the truth with his own eyes, and it would not leave him. He sat in his quarters aboard the Ghostlight, staring at the endless black of space. The orb the Reclaimer had given him rested beside him, still glowing faintly. He hadn't activated it since the battle, but its presence was enough to remind him that humanity was watching. His door chimed, and when it opened, he was surprised to see Speaker Varen standing there. The once proud alien leader looked tired, his light dim and flickering. "You were right, Captain," he said quietly. "We acted out of fear." Kale sighed. "Fear is easy. Understanding takes courage." Varen stepped closer. "They're reaching out again. The humans have sent another message, to all of us." Kale frowned. "Another warning?" Varen shook his head slowly. "An invitation." The message came through the galactic network hours later. Every world received it at once. The Reclaimer appeared again, standing before a vast backdrop of stars and the glowing earth behind him. "To those who would listen," he began, "we offer peace, not as rulers or saviors, but as equals. The age of empires built on fear is over. We invite all who wish to learn, to come to Earth." The galaxy exploded in chaos. Some saw it as a trap, others as a miracle. No one could ignore it. The council argued for days, and finally, a decision was made. A small delegation would be sent, representatives from every major species, escorted by Kale himself. "If this is truly a path to peace," Varen said, "then we must walk it." The journey to Earth was silent. The council ship Elysian Hope carried ambassadors from 12 different species, each more nervous than the last. As they neared the Sol system, the crew held their breath. Everyone remembered what had happened to the Armada, but this time, the space around them remained calm. Instead of resistance, they were greeted by light. Streams of golden energy guided their ship gently through the void, almost like living currents. "It's beautiful," whispered one ambassador. Kale nodded, unable to speak. When Earth came into view, even the most hardened leaders gasped. The planet was unlike anything they remembered from ancient records. It glowed softly, surrounded by shimmering rings of energy. Vast cities stretched across continents, yet they looked alive, growing, breathing, pulsing with power. Forests sparkled with bioluminescent light, oceans glowed with moving patterns, and massive orbital platforms hung above the surface like guardians made of starlight. Humanity had rebuilt its world, not with metal and fire, but with life and harmony. When they landed, the air itself seemed alive. It shimmered faintly with invisible energy that hummed like distant music. The delegation stepped out cautiously, their eyes wide with awe. Waiting for them were several humans, tall, calm, with faint golden patterns across their skin. The Reclaimer stood at their center. "Welcome to Earth," he said softly. "You are the first to come without fear." His words were kind, yet carried the quiet strength of a world that had survived the impossible. Kale stepped forward. "You've changed everything," he said. The Reclaimer smiled faintly. "Change is the nature of life, Captain. The galaxy forgot that long ago." He gestured toward the horizon, where towers of light stretched into the sky. "Come. There is much to see." The visitors were shown the new Earth. Vast cities powered by living energy, machines that grew like plants, and people who had learned to merge mind and matter. In one chamber, they saw archives filled with memories of the old world: wars, collapse, extinction, rebirth. "We kept the records," said one of the humans, "so we would never forget what fear made us do." Another showed them the Heart Network, a global system that connected every human mind, not through control, but through empathy. "We don't rule each other," the guide explained. "We feel each other. That is why we do not fight." The aliens were silent. They had never seen such unity. They had built empires, forged alliances, and waged endless wars, but none had ever achieved this kind of peace. Later, the Reclaimer took Kale and the ambassadors to a vast hall deep beneath the surface. The walls shimmered with moving light, forming images of ancient stars and civilizations long gone. "This," the Reclaimer said, "is the memory vault. Every world that fell, every species that vanished, lives here." Varen looked around in awe. "You preserve them?" The Reclaimer nodded. "We learned from our mistakes. We remember so that no one is lost to fear again." Kale stared at one image, a fragment of the old Earth, burning under alien bombardment. "You could destroy the galaxy if you wanted to," he said quietly. The Reclaimer's gaze softened. "Power is not strength, Kale. Survival is not conquest. True strength is to live without the need to dominate." As the visit continued, something remarkable began to happen. The ambassadors started to trust what they saw. They spoke with humans who had lived through centuries of rebuilding, who spoke of peace as if it were a science. Some even began to share their own knowledge in return. The Reclaimer watched it all quietly, knowing that the seeds of something new were being planted. On the final day of their visit, the delegates gathered once more before departing. "You have shown us what we forgot," Varen said. "Perhaps the Deathworld was never cursed. Perhaps it was a teacher." The Reclaimer smiled. "Every world can be, if it survives long enough to learn." When the delegation left Earth, the galaxy felt different. The broadcasts from their journey spread across the stars, images of golden cities, peaceful humans, and the Reclaimer's words about unity and empathy. Worlds that had once feared humanity began to question their own ways. Wars paused. Alliances shifted. And for the first time in millennia, the galaxy began to hope. Yet in the shadows of deep space, not everyone welcomed this new order. There were whispers of resistance, old empires unwilling to bow to change, commanders who still believed humanity's rise would end in domination. Kale knew peace was fragile. But as he looked back at Earth glowing in the distance, he also knew something had changed forever. The galaxy had heard the voice of the Deathworld, and this time, it was not the voice of fear, it was the voice of hope. The galaxy was no longer the same after the delegation's visit to Earth. For the first time in recorded history, the endless cycle of fear and dominance began to falter. Across countless worlds, people spoke of humanity not as monsters, but as a mystery, one that offered a path no one had ever imagined. The transmissions from the Reclaimer spread faster than the Council could control. His words echoed through every data stream, every broadcast, every colony. The Deathworld was not cursed, it was tested. And we endured. These simple words changed everything. Empires began to question the foundations of their rule. Worlds that had lived in the shadow of fear started to dream of something better. But in the quiet corners of the galaxy, not everyone was ready to accept this new order. In secret chambers and hidden fleets, powerful rulers gathered, determined to destroy the hope that humanity had awakened. Kale could feel the tension building again. He had returned to the Council's capital world, where the atmosphere was heavier than ever. Peace had made some hopeful, but it had made others desperate. As he walked through the grand corridors of the Council Hall, he overheard whispers of rebellion, of fear, of revenge. When he entered the chamber, Speaker Varen stood before a group of nervous counselors. His once flickering light was now dim, his voice strained. "Reports confirm that several military factions have gone rogue," Varen said. "They refuse to accept the Council's new alliance with Earth. They call themselves the Purity Coalition." The words hung in the air like poison. Kale's heart sank. "And what do they want?" he asked. Varen looked at him grimly. "To finish what Operation Dawnfire began, to erase humanity before their influence spreads any further." In the days that followed, chaos returned to the stars. The Purity Coalition struck without warning, targeting the new communication networks that connected the worlds inspired by Earth's message. Their attacks were precise, calculated, and ruthless. "They're trying to cut the galaxy off from the truth," Kale realized as he watched the reports. Entire colonies went silent, and fleets vanished in the void. The Council was paralyzed by fear and indecision. "We cannot fight them and maintain peace at the same time," Varen said helplessly. Kale clenched his fists. "Then we need help." Moments later, He activated the orb the Reclaimer had given him. The soft golden light filled the room, and the Reclaimer's calm face appeared. "I was expecting your call," he said. Kale nodded. "The galaxy is tearing itself apart again. The Coalition wants war." The Reclaimer's expression darkened. "Then perhaps it is time the galaxy learns what unity truly means." Within hours, humanity responded. Fleets of living ships appeared across the stars, not as conquerors but as protectors. Wherever the Coalition attacked, the humans intervened, using their strange golden energy to shield worlds and disable weapons without bloodshed. To those who watched, it seemed as though light itself had taken sides. Kale was aboard the Ghostlight, flying alongside a human vessel for the first time. It moved like something alive, its hull rippling with energy, responding to his ship's presence like a companion. "They don't even use coordinates," his pilot whispered in awe. "It's like they're reading space itself." On their screens, a distress signal flashed, a colony under attack by Coalition forces. "We're going in," Kale ordered. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. The Coalition's ships opened fire, their weapons tearing through space with brutal precision. But the human fleet moved in silence, their ships glowing brighter, bending light around themselves. Every shot fired at them vanished into ripples of golden energy. In return, the humans released waves of light that disabled enemy systems without destroying them. It was war without death, power without cruelty. When the battle ended, the Coalition ships floated powerless, their crews alive but defeated. Kale stared at the sight, barely believing it. "You could have destroyed them," he said over the comms. The Reclaimer's voice answered softly. "Destruction ends nothing. Only understanding does." But not everyone wanted to understand. The Purity Coalition regrouped, retreating to the edges of known space. There, they gathered old weapons of unimaginable power, remnants of the ancient wars that had nearly destroyed the galaxy long before humanity's fall. One of their leaders, a ruthless admiral named Dresk, broadcast a message to every world. "The Deathworld must burn," he declared. "Its corruption will consume us all." Kale knew what was coming. He returned to the council chambers to warn them. "They're planning something catastrophic," he said. Varen's light flickered with fear. "They've stolen a planet killer," he whispered. "A weapon from the Dark Age." The galaxy watched in horror as the Coalition's fleet emerged near the Sol system. The weapon, a colossal station known as Eclipse, charged with energy strong enough to destroy entire worlds. Kale was aboard the Ghostlight, racing toward Earth alongside the Reclaimer's fleet. As they approached, the golden light of humanity's ships spread out like wings across space. The Reclaimer's voice echoed through every channel. "You have chosen destruction. But know this, you cannot kill what has already conquered death." The Eclipse fired. A beam of pure energy streaked toward Earth, bright enough to blind sensors across the system. But just as it reached the planet, the entire sky shimmered. The light bent, twisted, and vanished. The beam was gone. In its place, a pulse of golden energy erupted from Earth, spreading outward like a heartbeat. The pulse reached the Coalition fleet within seconds. Every ship froze. Systems went dark, weapons melted away, and then, the humans did something no one expected. Instead of retaliation, they transmitted something. A memory. Across every Coalition ship, every soldier saw what the humans had endured. The fires that consumed Earth, the centuries of isolation, the struggle to rebuild. They saw children playing under alien suns, people working together to bring life back to a dead world. They saw not monsters, but survivors. When the vision ended, silence filled the void. Admiral Dresk's ship powered down. His final message was simple. "We were wrong." When it was over, the Eclipse drifted harmlessly in space. The war was done, not through fire, but through understanding. Kale stood beside the Reclaimer on Earth's surface, watching the dawn rise over the golden horizon. "It's over," Kale said softly. The Reclaimer nodded. "No," he replied. "It has just begun. The galaxy must now learn to live, not just survive. Kale looked up at the sky, where the stars shimmered faintly with the energy of the pulse. "What will happen now?" he asked. The Reclaimer smiled. "Now, the Deathworld will teach the stars how to hope." In the months that followed, humanity led the rebuilding of the galactic network. The Council reformed, not as rulers, but as a circle of equals. Worlds once divided by fear began to share their knowledge and resources. The humans helped heal dying planets, restore lost ecosystems, and teach the ways of the living machines. Kale became a bridge between the species, a living reminder of how close the galaxy had come to destruction, and how far it had come since. The Reclaimer watched quietly from Earth, knowing that peace was fragile, but also that it had finally become possible.